first of all, thank you all for making your time to come here today. From our partners to our customers, some old friends, new friends, and also, of course, like our Farouk staffs. Thank you so much for making the time. That is one of my favorite restaurants in all North America here at Lee. And for those of you who actually have been, if you're following me on LinkedIn in the last few weeks, I've been posting all kinds of different dishes and talk about my romanticizes about like my feeling about food because I never see a meal I never like in my life. uh, but I'm glad that everyone had a chance to make your way here, and I called this event the Farouk Fusion Luncheon because I've been in this business for 25 years, and I feel that there is a lot of parallels between what we're doing in our business and in obviously your work that is very similar to what we're about to enjoy today from Chef Lee. Because a fusion cuisine, a dish, that you're gonna have, like for example, that salad I posted like 2 weeks ago, right? The famous Singaporean slaw takes 19 ingredients, and they're all distinctive from different cultures, different backgrounds, and he created a dish that is clearly and proudly called his own, right? And there's a brand that he created that is that gave people great satisfaction, was very very popular around the world, and I think that I take that as an inspiration because in everything that we do in this business, we've been building virtual workspaces from back in the days, from server-based computing to VDI to workspaces to the cloud. Everything that we do is to take a lot of different distinctive technologies that are from different sources, right? And it takes someone that has the right knowledge and create the right recipe to put them together and call it your own and deliver, hopefully, a great experience, right? I got some friends like, for example, Leon. I remember that when we did the deal, did the project at RBC, right? We were talking about even just to call the project, and at the time that they were going to call the project Desktop Virtualization Project, so they want to call it the DVP, and our friend Leon was saying that no, we can't do that because DVP is considered slow, right? I was a Montreal boy, I didn't understand that. Now I live here, I understand that DVP is notoriously slow. So it's certainly those little things and every little touches that you do to design your next workspace requires that extra attention and the attention of actually creating a great user experience. And and that's really what we're here to kind of mingle and discuss and really have fun and talk about. We got some pretty interesting and distinctive partners today. Everyone knows that I have this 25-year love affair with Citrix Systems. I did, right? For those of you who don't know, I created my first VAR when I was first out of college back in '97, and I eventually actually sold that business to Citrix, worked for Citrix, and that's where I met David, and we're actually together in the new manager training together, and yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel sorry for you. Yeah. But and then now with Farouk Systems is a reincarnation of what we created, and hopefully that we're trying to do things better, and with better experience. So we have Citrix, we have Process Fusion, interesting name. We'll talk about that later. And we have LG Electronics, when we have our friend Ijo, who has each have their distinctive offerings and different use cases of their technology, and let's see if we can actually put together a great dish over this lunch. So with that said, again, thank you so much, and I would like to actually introduce David Brelly, my manager training friend, and to say a few things with us. Thank you.
I'll be quick because I'm standing between the food, and that's the better part here. I want to welcome everybody and thank Todd and the team for hosting us here and partnering with Citrix. I am brand new to Canada in terms of the country manager part, but 15 years at Citrix has taught me a lot of things that you got to be open to change, innovation, and certainly partnerships. And I think that that's the spirit of what we're doing here, and I hope to connect with each of you. I'd love to talk a little bit about the business outcomes that are critical for your success and what role we can play together. And I think at the end, I'll jump back up here with Todd, and we'll talk about maybe where Citrix goes in Canada in 2022 and on. And I'm obviously happy to keep that conversation going, but it's completely up and to the right. We got a lot of great ideas and a lot of great ways to do some things that we've been doing really well in the past, and some things we're going to do really well as we continue to help all of you serve your constituents and your customers. But in the meantime, do enjoy the meal, and thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
One of the things that I was taught very early on in my life is that be the most stupid person in the room, which I'm actually quite good at. And always surround people with that are smarter than you. And behind me there are two gentlemen that are way smarter than I am. So here's Mike and Mike.
All right, thanks everyone for coming out. I really appreciate it to see all these faces here. Some are new, some are old, so this has just been a wonderful opportunity to connect. And thank you, Todd, for your kind words, although considering I've been called the Paris Hilton of Citrix a few times in my career, I'm not sure it necessarily lends credence, but thank you nonetheless. Anyways, Michael Schuster, CEO of Farouk Systems. Thanks to our partners as well for coming, LG, iGel, Citrix, of course, for helping out with this event too. It's just the first of many that we're doing in person, actually the second of many that we're doing in person, so glad to get back to normal. I had the distinct privilege of introducing a speaker, Mr. Michael Loftus. Michael is a kindred spirit of mine for a couple of reasons, but one of them is...
I've never been called Paris Hilton.
Not surprising. So, Michael has made a career in IT, in the finance industry in Canada over many decades, and frankly, he's a bit of a legend, and that's an understatement. Michael is the man who would push boundaries within IT organizations, within the banks, which frankly are some of the more risk-adverse in many areas and not always open to the new innovative things, and was a risk taker. And in a number of Canada's banks, he's really helped move the needle with his vision of the modern workspace and how we can do business better, quicker, faster, and more cost-effective. So I love listening to what Michael has to say. I have for years, and it's a great privilege to introduce him and to hand over to him and hear from him today on his thoughts on the modern workspace and anything else that comes to his mind.
Yikes. I got one too. All right, so no pressure. Yeah, I'm an old guy. I'm going to sit, although I like to. I was going to say I got to pace, but I gave Jim Carroll a hard time for his damn videos where he's shaking his hands and all that kind of shit, so I'm not going to do that. So look, he stole my line about smarter people, because I got here early, and I wandered along and looked at the invitees, and I said, damn, there's a lot of people here smarter than me. Who the hell invited them? And then I realized I invited a bunch of you, so no pressure there. And look, all of you, or many of you, have been in this, both the EUC space, the modern workspace, whatever you want to call it, and the virtualization space for a long time. So I'm not sure I'm going to change any of your minds. What I want to do is maybe give you some things to think about, because I think that, but let me start by getting back to the theme. The theme here of workspace fusion. So obviously we're playing a little bit of homage to Mr. Lee and Asian fusion cuisine, but there's a reality that workspace, EUC, endpoint management has always been a fusion of different technologies, different vendors, different techniques. I also think that the set of partners that Todd is, I guess, at some point going to introduce today, are an interesting fusion, because they not only do the products kind of work together in a modern workspace. I'm always surprised at how collaborative and how friendly the relationships between these people are. So I think to the sponsors, it's kind of a pleasure to actually be talking to them, because they really do collaborate, and they're interested in pitching this vision of a modern workspace. But before I go there, I want to take you through a minor history lesson, because I think it's the history lesson that's going to convince us whether there's any value in this fusion workspace or not. I'm going to take you back to just about the time that COVID hit. And let me first say that everyone in this room was probably a hero, because I think IT never got anywhere near enough credit for what happened when we sent the great diaspora, we sent everybody home to work. I think, though, that the techniques that we used were interesting at the time, and they actually are the seeds of potential challenges, which is what I'm going to try to convince you. You should think about sort of a more modern and different workspace as your future. Well, let's talk about what we all did. So the first thing we all did was figure out how to get a massive amount of laptops to people at home that didn't have laptops. And that involved not just your standard processes of imaging and all that kind of stuff, but we became our own supply chains. We became our own, like, how do we ship this stuff? Like, it was a massive effort, and I think hugely successful. Hold that thought. Then we said, crap, we need a VPN. Shit, our VPN's no good. So we fussed with VPNs. Which one do we need? How much capacity do we need? Well, it's kind of a problem if it terminates in the data center, and most of our important apps are in the cloud. So now we're going to do this split tunneling thing, which was hard. And oh, by the way, totally insecure. And so everyone, and if you had the misfortune of having a couple of VPN vendors, their VPNs were so totally insecure that you might as well have just been operating in the clear. So we dealt with that. Again, credit to the teams. Oh man, people need to collaborate, they need to communicate, they need to talk to each other. So almost everyone adopted some form of cloud-based collaboration. Teams, WebEx, dare I say it, Zoom. I hate Zoom, by the way. But we did it again. And that was where I think the coalition of VPN and collaboration became a real nightmare, because the performance of most people, even with a split tunnel, is challenging. And then we figured out, some of our people want to print. There's just no useful way that you can print at home and not have a massive data leakage protection problem. But we overcame it. My point is that I would argue that the recipe for everyone became very similar. Now, a few enlightened souls might have gone with a bit more virtualization, but I'm going to argue even there we did it in ways that were tactical versus strategic. Hey, those brokers got great big workstations at work, we'll just do a remote desktop takeover. Yeah, kind of interesting, except that no one can get in the office. If the machine breaks, there's nothing working. So my point is we made some fabulous tactical steps. Not sure we got enough credit, but we kept most of our businesses working. So fast forward. So what are we looking at now? Well, I don't know about you, but I would say the general industry consensus is IPsec VPNs are dead men walking. Too hard to run, too insecure, performance is terrible. Everyone's looking at some variant of a always-on VPN into SASE, into some kind of a zero trust access box, traditional sort of web access gateways like Netscaler. People need to change because nobody wants to keep running that VPN. I would argue, despite the fact that I know, looking at some of my friends, some of you guys are participants in the laptop and beanbag chair conspiracy. It turns out running a complex Windows laptop at home is just impossibly hard. I talked to a lot of people. Patching compliance rates are down significantly. Vulnerability stats down. We don't know what's on the machines. So the whole configuration compliance thing is a problem. I talk to friends who spend their whole life now on audit notes because we can't manage those laptops, never mind their performance. Print remains a problem, and we need to solve it. So really, I think my point is that in spite of the fact that you've all been hugely successful at dealing with the pandemic and I guess the new hybrid workforce, it ain't as rosy as everyone's saying it is. And maybe it's time to at least consider what the vision of a modern workplace is. And the vision of a modern workplace, I'm going to argue, has a few key elements. Certainly it encompasses things like SASE or web access, get rid of that IPsec VPN, and do that in the cloud. I would argue that the modern workspace vision includes Windows in the data center or Windows in the cloud. Running fat Windows endpoints is not going to continue to pay off. Never mind all the challenges you're having today with managing those assets, keeping them patched. Windows 11 is coming. How's your part-time supply chain going to deal with that? So I really do believe principles are better network connectivity, more focused on the internet. And that's not just for remote access. I would venture a guess that almost everyone will have to change their corporate network if you have significant branch offices. SD-WAN, you need local internet egress. You cannot backhaul traffic to the data center. I'm going to argue that the modern workspace involves Windows in the data center, and it involves a robust, secure endpoint that's much easier to manage and is focused on optimizing the performance of those collaboration apps like Teams, WebEx, or if you really have to, Zoom. And finally, although many firms are lucky to have digitized a lot already, there's a lot of digitization to be done, and there's a lot of print challenges. So the idea that we will not just digitize processes, but we deliver cloud print capabilities that demand adherence to zero trust principles, and they're going to authenticate me before I'm allowed to print, and have some policy around that says I can't take that print and forward it somewhere else. So it's really, I guess my argument is that regardless of your viewpoint on virtual workspaces, modern workspaces, and the degree to which you believe that you are massively successful with your existing laptop deployments, it might be a good time to at least think about an alternative. And the people in this room represent a big part of that alternative. Citrix has a long history of helping us run applications, desktops, capabilities in the cloud or central, and imposing not just great performance on that from a protocol perspective, but a policy construct that lets us control what people are actually doing on that endpoint. iGel, wow, really cool endpoint, and Michael will show you my favorite, which is a USB key, which is your OS. We don't care what endpoint you use. Plug the USB in, you've got a secure, fully capable Linux endpoint with Teams optimizations. Process Fusion is in the room, and they really focus on that idea of, can we do cloud print? Can we do secure print? Can we digitize processes? Can we use a standard like PDF to dramatically change the way people do work? LG makes cool hardware. Lots of people make cool hardware. I would argue LG makes cooler hardware than some people. And they can work with iGel, and they can deliver both mobile, and for those of us that still want a fixed 38-inch or 6 of them somewhere screens, they can deliver that thin capability. Will that ever work for all of your workforce? Probably not. But if it's not working for some of your workforce today, I'm just going to argue maybe you aren't thinking about it hard enough, and you aren't worried about how hard it is to manage Windows. And I'm telling you, I've been managing Windows for 30 years. I've had the pleasure of working with some of the smartest people I know in all aspects of the Windows space. And your best managed Windows desktop is still a disaster. From an asset management, from a security, from a capability. And like I say, I had a great conversation with someone today who admitted to me, yeah, we're only getting 25% of the laptops back when people leave now. Say what? So, okay, maybe they're encrypted. That would be good, but how do you know? Encryption can be broken. I know some people in the room that can break almost any encryption. So my point is we're kidding ourselves. The model that you can have everyone running a fat laptop is hard to secure, and it's actually a pain for employees because if something breaks, they got to wait 2 days for the new purelator thing. Instead of going to Best Buy, buying something cool, and plugging Michael's USB key in, and they're connected, right? The other side of the equation, I would argue, because I got some history with a lot of you, is I would argue the virtual backends have changed dramatically. Microsoft and Citrix have changed the rules of the game, and you can get great performance at a great price. I'm just thinking you should look at it. Maybe it's not for you, but I'd like to have a discussion with you as to why. And end of rant.
All right, so I got everybody up here. I got Joel from LG. I got Daniel from Process Fusion. Of course, Dave already say hi to everyone already, and then we got Ken Shipman, right? And we got Mike and Mike, right? So, so for the last piece of it, while that you're having dessert, it's it was really more of a Q&A, more of a chit chat. Not really a fireside chat because I refuse to say fire because that means that we're gonna have really cold winter, and I really don't like cold winter. So just a great friendly chat with everyone. And by the way, you have any questions, please raise your hands and we'll shoot the questions. But just to get things going, I have some questions prepared. And I'm gonna ask everyone a question, so just kind of get things going. And since that Ken and Joel haven't talked to people, so I'm gonna start with Ken. Right?
Testing, Ken. You ready? You ready? All right, here we go.
Oh, I'm nervous.
All right. So we know that iGel went from a device-based company into a real software company. I think that a lot of people probably still not sure about it. I didn't understand it. I still think that you guys are a thin client company. So the question is, why is the thin edge OS that you're trying to push more secure and better for the end users and better for this Fusion workspaces that we're trying to build?
Thanks very much. Try and answer that. I think first and foremost, you can start thinking of iGel OS as similar to iOS or Android, but for the desktop and mobile devices. It's a very secure, lockdown, read-only operating system. It's 2 gig. Okay, it sits on any x86-based platform, so it becomes a very secure, lockdown way to connect to your desktop in the cloud or in a VDI infrastructure. And if you stop and think about it, if you're pulling your desktop from a VDI or cloud infrastructure, why do you need Windows on the edge point? I was just talking with Derek out here, and he mentioned to me that the problem that you have is these updates every day on Windows. How do you secure Windows, especially if people are working from home? How do you get into their house and make sure that they're properly secured and up to date? And our platform allows you to have a strongly locked down implementation that can't be penetrated and allows you a secure login to the infrastructure on the back end. So that's really what it's all about.
That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, so the next one from Joel, right?
Pick up.
All right. Yeah. So here, we're at Lee, right? And Susur Lee is famous for the innovation approach, and especially at times where our society is more appreciative of fine cuisine, right? And in that drawing that parallel, how does LG see a parallel modern workspace technology, in that inspiration?
Thanks, Todd. And thanks for having us today. We appreciate it. And for all of you for your time. So just to answer that question, we're all sitting here enjoying amazing cuisine, right? And Todd, one of the pictures that you posted up last week really spoke to me. I believe it was the cheeseburger lettuce wrap.
Yeah, the cheeseburger spring roll.
Yes. So anyways, I looked at that and I
highly recommended, by the way. Highly recommended if you're coming back here for dinner. Highly recommended.
Yeah, it's absolutely excellent. I've had it before. What I was trying to say is that, Susur's cooking really takes the idea of fusing different elements together, but really creating something new and actually beneficial for us. It's not just about Asian fusion. A lot of it is also about our health, right? And pre-COVID, we all could use a little bit of that, or post-COVID, right? So from an LG perspective, we're looking at how we deliver services to our clients. Right? And quite frankly, innovation change is required. Not a nice to have, it's a requirement, right? To all the points these gentlemen brought out today, managing traditional IT service delivery has become incredibly complex. And Zero Trust is fantastic for our data centers. We have so much great ability with the tools that are provided by all of our partners here, with iGel, with Citrix, and with Process Fusion. What we really do is we bring that last mile of the end user experience piece into your software development strategy, into your cybersecurity strategy, and into your application deployment strategy. Right? And as you take a look at our devices at the back there, you'll see that we've been able to innovate by bringing humanistic features back to the thin client space. It's really been the red-headed stepchild of the IT industry for quite some time. Right? What attracted me to it is corporate features, real construction, right? And price points that are absolutely undeniably the best thing for most businesses. So for us, the parallel that we draw with Susur is we're able to bring efficiency, health, and a proper work environment at fantastic costs to every organization and every type, with devices that were built for them, like our medical device or manufacturing devices, as opposed to just throwing random corporate hardware over the wall all the time. We now offer our clients ways of offering bespoke solutions through our partners like Furrow, and to do that as well. And we're happy to announce too, just to help you out maybe a little bit, Ken, we believe in iGel in a very, very, very big way. It's more than just a USB key. It's a fantastic way of connecting all of your devices to any software-defined network. That's why we're proud to announce that every single one of our devices will have an iGel preload in all of the next versions. Many of them have them today, but will be universally standard with them. So you'll be able to order, one that has Windows if you really needed to, or to be quite honest, we'll have the iGel preload right out of the gate. Thank you.
All right, and you want to tell people that to support us, what are you giving away today? Those of you who don't know.
Someone here today will walk away with a voucher for an LG Gram notebook computer, one of our new ones. We want people to see this enterprise technology up front and in their hands and be able to use it. So not a thin client, an actual laptop. And I apologize, I really wanted to bring it here today, but we got approval just outside of the window for our bureaucracy to get it out the door. So I'll be able to deliver it to whoever wins it today next week.
That's awesome.
Vendors
That's
are in
awesome.
the running for that, right?
Well, it depends on how much you pay me. All right. All right. So now let's talk to Daniel from Process Fusion. Right. So we call this event Fusion, and we're having fusion cuisine, and I picked a theme, and coincidentally that your company name is Process Fusion. So can you tell us about what that means in your company name? Is that a coincidence, or you just decided to change your company name so that you can match my event name?
Yeah. Well, just want to. I hold a Gram laptop from LG, and I thought I had a good laptop. I have a Lenovo X1 Carbon Touch, and that's heavy compared to yours. So Process Fusion, it was a report that came out from Gartner in early 2000. The report is about content process fusion. So what the report's saying is that if we can get to the content and understand the content with machine and able to extrapolate the right metadata, you can accelerate the business processes a lot faster. So Process Fusion came from that report. The name we saw, we were at the Gartner event. We saw the report, and we right away registered the domain, and that's how Process Fusion came about. And today, to us, the fusion is really about a world of digital process automation that are still, there's still some physical components still hanging around. There are still paper, there are still faxes that are still being managed in financial services, healthcare. So our platform allows us to merge the fusion of physical content together with digital content into a single digital processes. And that's what we do, and we have ability to control all the output from a print standpoint. We are also able to control all the input from a mobile capture and scan standpoint. And those documents go into the core system and go out of the core systems with full visibility. I think most IT want to know who does what when, and we have the exact answer from a compliance standpoint. And just want to tell everyone that we have just achieved, we just landed the federal government contract for Canada for secure print, Protected B. We just passed our ISO 27001 globally, as well as SOC 2 Type 2. So our platform is now federal government approved in Canada.
All right, so Dave.
Sir.
Yeah, so, I think Citrix is something that is in the centerpiece of a lot of people here in their careers, in the workspace, and in the things that we deal with. Some of us build a career out of it. So, obviously that in the theme of fusion, or in the theme of innovation, the company should always innovate itself. So, as a new guy for Canada, you want to tell us a little bit about what we can expect to see in the new year?
Sure. 2022? Well, first of all, thanks again. It's good to be up here with everybody, and I think there is some, Michael, nice job. I think that's a lot of insight. We could unpack that for a long time, and anytime we get a chance to get together, I was just in the back thinking that there's, even you all, like you have these experiences and these outcomes you're trying to drive to and how you're trying to solve it, whether it's this or a combination of it. Anytime we can get together as a community and break bread and talk about what's working, what's not, and where to go from here is a unique opportunity. So thanks, Todd, and the whole crew for putting this together. For 2022 and just kind of on where, what we think of for Citrix and as we approach the market and how we plan and look at it, I think specifically for Canada, it's really up and to the right. We look at things that are happening like partnerships with Microsoft for DAS, and DAS-like thing, and that is a strong, Tom Kubik and I meet often, and we talk about how we do better with Azure, supporting Azure virtual desktops and expanding that value proposition and creating DAS-like economies of scale. I think you'll see Google emerge with Citrix and try to take on a lot of what Microsoft and AWS have built up. And there's going to be, they're looking for our help, and you'll see that start to emerge in Canada as well, although I think that Google is probably a very distant third, probably even behind, maybe even fourth if you look at it from an IBM standpoint on the end user. And I think you'll see more DAS-like solutions, whether you're running that on-prem, the ability to run your own, whether you're running that through a partner, whether you're running that through a cloud provider. And we'll continue to innovate there. That workspace, that virtual apps and desktops, the virtual apps, the share file service or the data sharing service, and the different services. I think even in 2022, I might be pushing it here, but I'd like to think that Canada will actually have its own sovereign control plane.
Hallelujah.
Yeah, like listen, in order to play.
You know what we found out? We found out just a week ago that ShareFile actually has presence.
Yeah,
now,
we have presence.
Which is actually a big deal.
It's one
Yeah.
support ticket.
Yeah. I'll be fair with you, just so we're, this could be easily a 2023 thing, but I will be, Todd, it's probably more in the lines of some sort of virtual app and desktop service running sovereignly in Canada, but using the services out of Seattle, Chicago, but retaining the data. Something along those lines. We got to start moving in that direction so we can give everybody, in the meantime, it's there, and a lot of our customers are fine, but for those that need the SOX 2 or need the FedRAMP equivalent of the US, they're going to need to be something there, and so we work towards that. That's our innovation, and then I think we continue to innovate around user experience, IT modernization, helping IT teams do more with less when it comes to things like DAS or delivering a desktop or an app to the thin client or process integration or whatever that might be. Like our role in that is continue to innovate there and plug in with our partner ecosystem. You'll continue to see services extend from what we've done traditionally with ADC, our NetScaler, in the form of as a service. So think of the things that you've traditionally put on-prem that Microsoft or Azure or Google have now made pretty cool to run inside of their cloud. We'll extend similar and probably outpace them in a sense that our technology that runs on the NetScaler is just that much more evolved. I think you continue to see some work management products. You know, we continue to invest in those things, whether it's the data or the workflow management. And I think, you know, we've got to continue to be really supportive around hybrid work, given hopefully this is not our last in-person event for some time, but given the VPN proliferation, we need to be, Citrix has been a 30-year gateway proxy company, even though we've delivered virtual apps or the problem apps, or we've had this tradition here where we help customers figure out how to support hybrid work that's right for you. And some of that includes Citrix, sometimes it doesn't, and that will continue to be our mantra, but our innovation will come in what we deliver to IT teams and to the end users as far as performance, protocol, integration with our partners, VMware, even our competitors, our integration with frenemies like Microsoft, because they are a very good partner, but at the same time, you see a lot of people like, AVD is good enough, is it? And how do we help you extend value there? I think our commitment will continue to be, Todd, like how do we sit down with you all, talk about the business outcomes that are key, drive towards it. If it's Citrix, great. If it's not, let's find the right thing and get you in there and do it that way. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much. All right, Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Mike and Mike.
Oh, Mike's already talked a lot. Let's let Mike talk.
What am I talking about? Hit me with a question.
Hit you with a question. So the and by the way, this is totally unscripted because I'm just making this stuff right now. The theme, like I said, for if those of you who actually follow those posts that I had on LinkedIn with like different food dishes and pictures that I posted the last 3 weeks. Last night I posted something on the dessert because you're having dessert right now, and I said that dessert is obviously a perfect ending to a fusion meal, especially what you have now. It's something special, something different, right? And I said that I always remind our team, Farouk, that one thing I learned from actually Dave, you also worked for him before, Mr. Mark Templeton, and he actually said something to me earlier this year in our podcast. He said that everything we do has to have a human outcome, right? Everything we do, everything we're designing, everything we're putting together has to have a human outcome, and a human outcome is what's going to drive, either your customer to come back to a restaurant, or an end user ending up using your stuff, right? Or a customer that wanting to actually come back with you. So, so that Mike, you want to just kind of touch up on all the things that are Farouk systems that we hold every part of our, every part of our team accountable in terms of how do we deliver that human outcome and that special touch, so that our customer can actually be glad about it and be appreciative.
Sure, thank you. So incidentally, we covered this topic a bit recently in one of our recent webinars. It's on, okay. Little closer, perfect. All right, so incidentally, we covered this recently in a webinar we were doing with Citrix's Kevin Nardone, as we talked about digital workspace transformation. And the reality is, digital transformation, buzzword, gets thrown around a lot. You can apply it to so many different things. Printing, data center transformation, moving to cloud or whatnot. But not all of digital transformation initiatives and programs necessarily impact the user significantly. You move your backend infrastructure to Azure, users are probably not going to notice. You move their mailbox, probably not going to notice. Huge thing for IT, not really there for the end user. Digital workspace transformation, however, is a significant impact to users. in a positive way generally, but the fact is there is changes like moving houses, right? So there's a direct impact to the end user. So whenever we're doing these types of change initiatives, whether it's simply as re-platforming, going from on-prem Citrix to Citrix Cloud to take advantage of all the innovation that happens there that you just don't get on-prem to the same degree, or whether it's rolling out brand new use cases to support M&A or whatever the case is, we have to start with the user experience first, which is why in Citrix's consulting methodology, which we live and breathe, it's been developed over decades, and our team delivers on it to the same level as Citrix does, sometimes better actually. But we're that anal about it. Like when Citrix calls us for strategic projects, is for a reason. Because on the Citrix methodology, the very first layer that we deal with is the user layer, because it all starts with the user experience, understanding what their outcomes are, their requirements are, what their devices are needed to be productive, what are their constraints, what are the business drivers. Any of these transformation engagements that start with the modern workspace or how the users access secure data within our sensitive data within our network starts with that user experience. So it's embedded to everyone within our organization is making sure that we understand what users need to do, what their business outcomes are, how do they work, because only from that standpoint can we properly articulate in our deliverables and our technical outcomes something that can be built that supports what the end user needs are. There's nothing worse than making a bunch of assumptions, going through design and a planning engagement, not engaging the right parties, only to find out the company really needed a condo in downtown King Street, and you built them a mansion in the middle of nowhere, Ontario. Anyone that knows me knows that I'm really bad at analogies off the top of my head. But point is, you want to make sure that you're on message and on point, delivering the users what they need, and that really starts with understanding their requirements. So a user-centric outcome is key to everything that we do. And again, everything that we do starts with the user experience and the outcome that needs to come from that.
So once again, thank you everybody up in the panel. We'll divide the wine in a bit. We're gonna have to give Mike a bottle and some of our friends a special bottle. Thank you for helping us out and helping us to talk to our customers and our friends, and all of you. Thank you for coming. I hope that you have a good time. Most importantly, I hope that you had a good meal, because it's one of my favorite places. I hope that everybody had a chance to try it and feel the same as I am. Every time I leave this place, I'm really, really happy. And so thank you. And if I don't get to see you before the holidays, have a great holiday. Have a safe and healthy and happy holiday season, and we'll see you in the new year.